Congratulations on your purchase. In this video, I'm going to show you guys how to set up Mr. Professional second generation. So let's get right into it. One thing to note, guys, is you notice how I have these pillars on the foam. You always want to place your pillars and the headpiece on top of the foam so that you guys don't scratch your beautiful investment. All right. So the first thing is take the pillar with the one that has the flattest bottom and line it up with the base just like that and start turning these knobs. When your knobs are nice and tight, you want to take the secondary pillar. Now this one has a more narrow end and want to place it right in between. Same thing, let's tighten up the handles on the top. Next thing you guys want to do is you want to take your frame. You're going to go ahead and place your iPad inside of the frame. And then you guys are going to use these smaller screws to fasten the iPad frame onto the faceplate, like this. Please do this to all four. When completed, your iPad should look like this. There's also tape that comes along with your order, so if there's any wiggle room, just go ahead and place some tape in the inside to keep your iPad nice and snug. For this next step, you guys are going to use these two wheels, okay? So we're going to use these two screws to hold the actual head in place. Place that right in here. So let's go ahead and grab the head. This is the headpiece right here. What I like doing is I like opening the door, because now I can actually see how close I'm getting when I'm about to install it, just like this. Once the head is up top, you can take those two screws and start fastening them to hold the head in place. And quick pointer, go ahead and try to fasten them simultaneously so it's nice and even. Now, for this next step, I want you guys to take the cable that was issued to you. It's going to be a cable like this, connected to the Type-C cable on this side, and then it'll come out right here, okay? So this is what we're going to connect to the USB hub in order for the iPad to continue to get power throughout its time. So we'll leave this like this for now. The next thing we want to do is we're going to take our Acasis and we're going to install the cable that distributes power into where it says USB PD. That's USB-C PD for power distribution. That's exactly where we want to connect this white cable. Right in here like this. And then we can feed this right in here. So that'll hold it in place. We could take this end and feed it right in here, as that end right here is going to go right into the iPad. Now let me go ahead and turn it around. This booth only weighs 30 pounds. It's not very heavy at all. It's one of the lightest DSLR booths you can get on the market. For the following step, we're going to take the faceplate that already has the iPad installed, and we're going to install it right in here. We're going to be using these tiny little white knobs, or you can use the silver ones if you guys want to, but I like using the white ones. We're going to take the data cable, USB Type-C from the Acasis, and we're going to install it right on the iPad's entrance right here in this section. So let me go ahead and do that right now. You'll hear the little click, and then we're going to push the iPad in, just like that. And then let's go ahead and start putting the screws in place. Now that we have the USB Type-C inside connected to the iPad and we have the iPad in place, the next step is really easy. And this is the way I would recommend you guys do it when you guys are on set. So you're going to take the new revised cable that's much shorter than the first generation, and we're going to feed it right into the middle here. Once we feed it all the way to the bottom, I want you guys to do this next step is just tilting it just like this and then grabbing the cable from the bottom, pulling it out so that you guys can now connect this to a power bank or an extension cord all the way to the wall outlet. If you guys want to make your lives easier, get yourselves a power bank. Now, speaking of power banks, there are many different power banks you guys can purchase. I use two different power banks. I use the EcoFlow. This one right here gets up to 1000 watts and 499 working hours. So you can definitely use this with Mr. Professional, but I also like using a different type of power bank when we have events that exceed 4 hours, for the fact that we're going to have both our printer and Mr. Professional pulling power. So I'll go ahead and place those in the description with links for you guys. For this next step, we're going to take your Canon R100 and its power source, which is a dummy battery, and we're going to connect the dummy battery, put it right inside along with an SD card. Now this SD card that I keep inside is only 32 gigs. So 32 gigs is more than enough because the photos that we are taking are not gigantic files, okay? So if you guys want to get a 64-bit, that's totally fine. If you guys want to use 128, that's totally fine as well. But 32, 64 gigs is totally fine. What I want to do next is I want to place the battery right in here. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and grab the battery, place it in like this. And then there's a little opening where you're going to feed the wire in like this and then close door. Okay. Then we're going to take the opposite end and connect it to Mr. Professional's power source. Let's go ahead and do that right now. Before we take that step, what I want to do is, to be more efficient on the setup, is let's go ahead and connect the Godox trigger right onto the top of the camera like this. And then fasten it. Okay. So we can do two things. We can have this trigger communicate with the receiver, or we can hardwire it, meaning connect the cable from here all the way to your Godox. Now, they're both really reliable, but if we decide to go with the cable that goes connected to this end directly to the Godox, we're going to guarantee a flash every single time as long as we are making contact here. So what I want you to do today is I want to go ahead and use a method of connecting the cable from here and feeding it to the top. But if you guys decide to do it the other way, I'm going to show you how to do that exactly right now in this video. Now, when you guys purchase your Godox, it comes with one trigger and two receivers. And what's going to happen is you guys are going to notice that there is numerations right here. And because there's numerations, you see 1, 2, 3 all the way to 4, you want to make sure that these match the actual numeration right over here when it comes to these levelers. So in this case, what I have is number 1 set and 2, 3, and 4 are set down. And so this is actually the same deal right here. The 1 is up and the remaining 4 are down. This allows these two to communicate and be on the same channel. Okay. The next thing I want to do is, either way, we can have these communicate with one another just like this because they're programmed and synchronized, or we can leave this out of the question, right? Out of the setup, and connect the cable right in here and then feed this cable to the top and connect it to the Godox. The biggest difference now is going to be is you don't have to rely on this or the battery that's inside of it. So you can just go this route. And this is the route that I prefer to go with. Now, depending on what Godox system you guys are using or what flash you guys are using, what you're going to do is where it says sync, this is where the opposite cable will go in through. It's going to go right in through here like this. And then we're going to run the power right in here and then turn this on. Okay, so let's go ahead and do these steps. In addition, let's go ahead and set up the umbrella as well, because now what we're going to do is we're going to connect the camera pin, also known as the baby rod, onto Mr. Professional, and then we're going to mount this flash head with the actual umbrella. Let me show you guys something. Now, when it comes to umbrellas, there are a ton of different umbrella sizes you guys can get in styles, okay? This one right here is a smaller umbrella. This one ranges, and it's about, I believe this one's 33 inches. It's white, It matches Mr. Professional's matte white color as well. So this is one that I used a lot in the past. In fact, I can see by the wear and tear that it's been through a lot of events. You guys can also get a 2-pack of umbrellas where it'll be more of a traditional style of umbrella where you get the black top and then you get the reflector in the inside. Now, if you guys want your photos to come out really nice, what you guys can do is you can buy a softener, also known as a diffuser, to cover up your umbrella. It just has to be the same size so that it actually goes all around your umbrella. And then you guys can have a diffuser so that when the flash goes off, everyone's face will be much softer when it gets touched by the flash. So this is the reason why I would highly recommend you guys spend an extra few dollars on a diffuser like this. This will take a photography to a higher quality of level. And that's exactly what I want for you guys. So I'll place the link in the description box below for this setup. And what you can do now is you can actually set the flash and feed it through here, which is exactly what I'm going to show you guys how to do. So in the beginning, I know this is something that a lot of folks bring to my attention is the Godox MS300 has this section right here where you can actually slide the umbrella, but because it's brand new, there's resistance. So when you try to actually put it in, it's a little tight, but it's okay. You're not going to hurt it or anything or break it. As long as you're putting it in this way right here, you can feed it in and you don't have to necessarily tighten this or loosen it unless you can go inside. Then maybe just loosen it a little bit just to actually let the pin come inside, okay? Then what I like doing is I like having it around, I'll show you how much, just like this. So if you guys don't have this diffuser, then of course you don't have to worry about this step. But now I can actually mount my flash right here, okay? And then I'm gonna show you guys how to connect it. So let's go ahead and do that. Let me go ahead and connect my flash right up here. Before I do that, let me grab a baby pin. This is what you call a baby pin or a camera rod. The next thing we're going to do is I save this step towards the end because I don't want to move the booth with the umbrella and the flash on top. So all you got to do is feed it to this bottom hole. It's going to be a little hole here, and take the opposite end and then start screwing it right in place. Like this. Nice and tight. We're going to mount it on for now. Just like this. And then we're going to tighten it just so it won't fall off. Right here. And then right here, we're going to tighten this so it's not flopping back and forth. So we're going to tighten this part right here. And I'm only like 5'4", so that's why I'm kind of like on my tippy toes. I'm not wearing shoes. So that's installed. Now, one thing you guys will notice is the Godox MS300V comes with a cable, and it's a very long cable because when it's used in studio sessions, what they usually do is they have it connected to the wall. So that cable needs to be extra long to go to the wall, or it's necessary power bank if they decide to choose one. But because everything is going on right here, what I did is I went on Amazon and I ordered, you can call it a computer cable, 110 volts. I ordered one of these cables. You can get one that's at least 3 feet long. So it saves you a lot of space in here, less clutter, and it works really great. So I'm going to feed this end right inside, and you guys will see if there's a hole. What we're going to do is we're going to feed it right in here like this. Okay. And then the one on the inside, just connect it to one of the outlets. You guys have a total of 3 outlets available. So you guys have more outlets than you actually need, but it's nice to have an extra one. So now it's connected. One really cool, unique thing about Mr. Professional is the fact that it has an integrated swivel, which means we can shoot in portrait mode, or we can loosen these 3 little knobs here and then go into landscape mode. For this video, I'm going to be shooting in portrait mode, okay? So you guys can take this part and I'll actually show you guys how it looks. Take this part right here. I'm going to feed it right in here. That part is going to go onto the camera. It's going to go onto this part of the camera. So we'll go ahead and place the camera inside. connect it to the camera. I'm going to tighten it. So the camera is now installed, and here is a dummy battery cable. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this side, and just like we did with the flash up above, we're going to connect this to one of the power outlets as well. So that way the camera has battery throughout the entire time of the event. So now that's connected. So now we have power up above, and now we have power right into the camera, and also power going into the iPad. But the only way we're going to achieve that is connecting this to a power bank or a wall outlet with an extension cable. As I mentioned earlier, I do love using power stations, so we're going to use that. Now, before we move next to the next step, we're going to go ahead and run a cable, a data cable, from the camera into the Axis's opposite end. Now, I said Axis's, but what I meant to say was Axis. All right, let me grab that cable. So guys, I recommend you guys get yourselves a nice data cable, not a super cheap one. This is a nice cable right here. I believe it's about 2 feet long, and it has 20 gigabytes per second. So it's going to transfer information really quick. So what I can do now is I can just go in here and plug it in. It's a USB Type-C. And then right here for your camera, you can move it. I'm going to tighten these now because now I made up my mind and I want it to be in portrait mode. So I tighten these, right? And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this side of the data cable onto the opposite side of the Axis right in here like this. There you go. Now, please don't make the mistake of getting these two mixed up, because if you put this into the power and then this into the data, your iPad's not going to charge properly and your camera's not going to communicate properly. So please don't make that mistake. And at this point, I can say that we are almost set to go. One thing that we are still missing is we're going to add the trigger I showed you guys earlier and connect it to the Godox. So here's the trigger we're going to be connecting along with the cable already connected to the trigger. We're going to feed it into the camera like I showed you guys. Making sure the trigger is facing that way. And then we're going to take the little cable here and we're going to feed it into the top. Remember, there's an opening here in the top. I'm going to grab that. And we can actually extend it out to where it says sync. And boom. Great. Now check this out. As you guys can see, we have the camera right in there. We have the iPad. We have the trigger. We have the dummy battery. We've connected the actual flash as well with the power. So now what we have to do next is actually connect it to an actual power bank so that we can get some power going. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this power bank, and be careful guys when you put it here on the base. Why? Because I want you guys to have a beautiful looking booth for as long as possible. So just be mindful. So I'm going to go ahead and connect it here or here. Just depends what the cleanest look is. Now that I have this going on, I'm going to hit AC, alternative current. And now I'm going to turn on the power here on the iPad, which is turned on already. And now I can actually come right over here to the power bank and see that currently with the camera, the LED light, and everything else that's connected, at the moment I am pulling 41 watts. That's what it says right here, 41 watts. If we keep this up and we continue to pull 41 watts, it's expected to give us about 8 hours of battery life. I like reducing it by at least an hour to have a good amount of buffer. So let's just say it's going to give me 7 hours. Now I'm going to turn on the flash. I'm going to go ahead and tilt the camera. Now that the flash is turned on, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the camera. Okay, the camera is now turned on. Right in here, during the summer, there's a fan. If you guys want the fan to start working, press this button right here. So this fan is 3 times stronger than the previous fan. But because we don't need it right now, I'm going to turn it off. Before I do that, I'm curious to see how much wattage are we pulling with the iPad being charged, the camera running, the flash head also operating, along with the fan spinning, and the LED in the front of Mr. Professional working. Right now we are pulling a total of 59 watts, which reduced it to 6 hours of running time, just to give you guys an idea. All right. Now that we are almost done inside, we're going to turn the booth over so I can show you guys a few things. But before I do that, I'm going to hit the trigger right here to make sure that the flash is working. So boom, that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted the flash to go off just like that. Now I can actually close it, and we're going to turn it around facing you guys. So I'm going to pick this up with the power bank here at the bottom. It has a lot more weight, plus the flash up above. But here we are. So the next thing you guys want to do is we want to turn the flash around. So I'm going to loosen up the flash just a little bit so that I can swivel it here. And I'm going to hold on to the cables to make sure I'm not overextending any cables. And ideally what you want is you want this angle right here. And I'm going to go ahead and tilt the camera up so you guys can see. Now, right up here, you have a knob. So what you can do is two things. When you install the camera, from the inside here, you can move the camera up or down and then tighten it. Okay, but once it's in there, you can actually close this. And if you have someone that's taller or shorter, you can use this lever now to drop it or higher it depending on the person's height. This LED right here can be changed using the remote, but I prefer using the actual phone. So if you guys have your phone, the application is called BandLAN X. I'll show you how that looks like. So it acknowledges that we are going to go back. We're going to cancel that because I have multiple Mr. Professionals. So right now I want to connect to the second generation. I'm going to press second generation, and it's going to connect right over here in a few seconds. Now that it's connected, I can use my phone to turn it off if I need to, or turn it back on, manipulate the light color, also change the temperature of the white and the brightness as well. I like keeping it around 25% mark right here. So I hope you guys can see this, but it's around at the 25 mark right there. I don't like keeping it super bright. This is nice. So that's exactly how you guys would install Mr. Professional.